It's gonna be harder because last week, obviously, we came with different expectations. Every team did, and we ended up being the strongest team in the group.
And with the crowd behind them, Origen go undefeated.
I feel like this week can be a lot different. Teams have prepared more for today. I don't think any of the teams gave up. I think all the teams are gonna try their hardest because anyone can make it. They're gonna come in super prepared, and it's a big worry, so saying we wanna go 6-0 wouldn't be realistic. We will be really happy if we got to win 2 games, because that means we got first. And that will just mean we proved that we actually deserve to be going through group stage, that it wasn't just luck.
Championship. If the defending world champion could start his first week 0-3, LGD have so little time left now. Oh, quadra kill! They get the beautiful shockwave.
These guys are legit, man.
Bonjour and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the 2015 World Championship. Today we will follow Group D as they battle it out in their final day of round-robin matches to see which teams will advance to the quarterfinals in London. The crowd is plenty hyped and amazing in Niels. They're headed to the stage, ready to do battle in our first game of the day. So as will he finally get his hands on that gangplank today? Only time will tell. Of course, TSM making their final adjustments, and Les Boy looking stone cold. Hello, everyone. I'm still James Dash Patterson, and once again, I surrounded myself with some of the premier regional experts to help break down the action. To my left, coach for Europe's Roccat, Jacob Yamato Cannon Mebdi, LPL commentator Jake Spawn Tiberi, and the NALCS's own Aiden Zyrene Moon. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You're looking quite relaxed, my friend. Yeah, it's a very laid back, very still waking up, maybe. Oh, conserving for the many exciting games that we're going to be having today. Now, yesterday we saw 2 more teams advance to the next round of Worlds, SK Telecom and Edward Gaming. While SKT showed why they were the favorites in this tournament, China's EDG was much less convincing.
Yeah, SKT looked amazing. Like, let's just get it out of the way. You know, teams came into this tournament and said there is no Samsung White. Well, I'm going to dispute that because Blue last year was the second best team and White beat them in the best of 3 in an average game time of 27 minutes. And game 2 and 3 looked an awful lot like what SKT did against EDG in their 2 games. They beat them in an average game time of 28 minutes. This is supposed to be the second best team in the tournament. And my God, this Korean powerhouse, man, they are intimidating as all heck.
It's like, while I see where you're coming from with the comparison, I think it's too soon because the thought of EDG being the second team in the tournament, I understand that sentiment as well, but looking at the other teams in all other groups, like Origen, like facing SKT, I think that could be interesting in the future as well. Maybe Flash Wolves, maybe Ku Tigers, KT. I think there's a lot of teams that could be the second best team in the tournament by now.
It really just brings up the idea of whether or not you value the, past performances of the team at MSI, something like that, the way they came into the tournament on paper versus their performance and their relative strength of group.
I think that's definitely true. And we have to look at longevity because there's still weeks to come, right? Some teams could actually go up to that second spot. Maybe KT comes out. Maybe LGD gets it together. We'll have to see this week. But we'll talk a little bit more about EDG here. They had some problems in the early game. They look like the second best team, like you said, but there's definite problems with the lane swap that they are just not used to yet. The European lane swap with the fast push, they're trying to avoid that, and they're putting band-aiding the problem. They're picking mid-late game farm champions like Jinx, and they're getting around that. But that is something, the European lane swap, that when you make it out of groups, if you do, and the EDG did, you're going to be going up against teams that have this perfected. So you have to find a way to adapt to that without just band-aiding it for the time being.
Yeah, we saw them claw their way back from a 6K deficit against the Bangkok Titans, but they might not be afforded that opportunity against a team like Origen or SKT again in the future. Now, moving on to today, let's see how the teams in Group D are stacked up. Europe's Origen is currently in the #1 spot after going undefeated in Week 1. KT Rolster is behind them at 2-1, followed by TSM, while the LPL's LGD is still looking for their first win after a rough start to the tournament. Of course, we'll be able to lock down those rankings after our games today, which of course begin with TSM versus Origen. After that, KT Rolster will take to the Rift in back-to-back matches, first against LGD and then against TSM. If there are any tiebreakers required, we'll bring you those immediately following our 6th game, LGD versus TSM. Gentlemen, let's start with Origen because they surprised everybody. We heard Expeke talk about it. They surprised themselves with their 3-0 start.
Yeah, I think Origen is a team that coming in from a pool 3 definitely overperformed. But the thing is that this is their level. Because what happened is Expeke came into his own. He's now one of the best performing mid laners at the tournament, and he has really high kill participation. He's becoming a part of these fights. He's no longer a liability, and their draft has been amazing. Hermit, their coach, he's not just drafting around his team's strengths. He's drafting around the enemy's weakness and making it so that they get to attack the weak point of their enemy's tendencies, which is something that I think on the world stage everybody should be doing, but they have done it the best so far.
See, that actually worries me a tiny bit for Origen because that's easy to do if you play one game per game, but you put all 3 into one and you make one executional mistake and all of a sudden you lose a game. However, Origen's play on the Rift, especially out of their bottom lane, who I was expecting good things but not amazing things, has been like second to none so far this tournament. Niels and Mithy have shown that they are class through and through.
Oh man, you give him Callista so many times, you enable Mithy to make
I have a feeling we won't see Callista too often in the hands of Origen.
But Callista hasn't got the best win rate. It's like 38%. And it's only Niels is the one.
But in the hands of Niels, it's
Imp
been
is
very...
a great Callista as well, and he can't win with a champion. So
well, that whole team is underperforming.
Very important to highlight the fact that the European and the North American teams have kind of an advantage in the group stage simply because of how the LCS structure is. We have best of ones, and I think that is something to consider simply because when we come into the quarterfinals, I think Origen should have if they manage to have these strong strategies for the entire best of 5, I'll be super impressed. But it's harder to do than just best of ones.
Important to note that they only need to win their game against TSM. TSM specifically, first game of the day, in order to guarantee that they do advance to the quarterfinals. Want to move ahead now to KT, sitting at 2-1. This is a team that can fight for either the 1 or 2 seed here and looked exceptionally impressive even with that loss that they incurred in week 1.
Yeah, this is a team that just has a really solid top laner and then the rest of the map supports him very well. So I was impressed by KT's performance. I think Someday is an absolute monster up there and they've got a really great support staff. What I wasn't impressed by was how Origen beat them around the map, and I thought that was a telltale game to show that KT still has a way to grow. Are they an impressive team? Sure. Can they take a game off Origen, hit back and prove that they can play that macro strategy impeccably? That's what I'm looking for today out of KT.
Yeah, because KT, they lost the game while down in kills, or up in kills. I think it was 12-11 with KT having the 12. So they lost the game up in kills, but KT, they kind of suck at taking early towers. They haven't gotten a tower before their enemy in all 3 of their games, and they're lacking that macro strategy because they're all about the fight. And that's another thing, too. They have kind of that problem that EDG is having with the macro strategy in this current meta and how it's stacking up in the tournament. So if they can just do a little bit more studying, polish that, then they'll be ready to take on
or
those
if
lane
they
swaps.
can bait teams into fights, because that's what KT and EDG
really
were
good at
both
that.
known for. If you fight them early in the game, they smash you.
It's also like the game KT versus Origen the last time. They had the game in their hands simply because they should have just sent Someday into the bot lane instead of the Cog. But what kind of is in my memory is the fact that Someday kind of crushed Soaz. He was ahead. And
He had no deaths.
They could have pushed that because Someday is kind of known for that split push, just doing it flawlessly. I'm surprised they didn't push that, but also something that is important to highlight, in the next time they face, KT have the red side. And I think red side has been so important for Soaz because he has this deep champion pool where he's able to counterpick almost anything that is played on top lane.
Now let's quickly hit LGD, the team that surprised us in the wrong way by not doing so fantastically, starting 0-3. Now, it's important to note with this team that even if they win all 3 of their matches today, they are not guaranteed a tiebreaker. They need certain things to fall in their favor with KT losing to specific teams in order to force a tiebreaker. So we'll see if that can even happen, but they're going to have to come out swinging to make anything happen today.
Yeah, typical LGD, right? They can't even get anything right coming into this tournament. Their preparation looks sloppy. On the Rift, they look sloppy. They got beaten by a Shockwave and a Mordekaiser Q, respectively, in 2 different games. They're all over the place. place.
And then, of course, we'll move on to our last team in the group, TSM. They need to win against KT specifically in order to keep their tournament hopes alive to force a tiebreaker with them for that second seed. We'll see if they can do that. Of course, let's look towards today's games where we want to open up our expertise to you. Tweet your questions for our analysts at Lull Esports with the hashtag AskTheDesk, and we'll see what you want to know a little bit later today. Now, before we get to the caster desk, an important piece of business. As always, TSM versus Origen. Who are you guys picking to win this game? Yamato, we're going to start with you.
I have to say Origen, simply because the only win TSM has managed to grab is against a weak LGD with Mordekaiser. It's very easy to push that early game and the mid game with the Mordekaiser. In the other games, when they haven't had the Mordekaiser, they've just looked pretty like stalemate.
Fair enough. Moving on.
If you are an LGD fan, barrack for TSM all day. That is all I'm going to say. But this game, Origen will come out quite handily. I think they're a much better lineup.
And finally,
I'm going to have to go with the rest of the desk here and go with Origen because I don't see how TSM really realistically wins this. They have the late game, right? But Origen last time drafted late game and said, we're just going to beat you in that late game. So they went after that weakness there. So I feel like Origen, they have more avenues in, and TSM just has to play a better game. Dyrus needs to step up. He's one of the worst performing top laners at the tournament right now, and Bjergsen needs to be utilized on the map because he's one of the best performing mid laners at this tournament statistics-wise.
well, today's the day for Dyrus to do it. However, if week one performances are indicative of anything, Origen's going to run away with this game. TSM have had their time to make their adjustments. We'll see if they've done it. The teams are gearing up on stage, so let's check in with our casters for a preview of our first match. On the way, Dyrus says Xpeke has several qualities that make him a real contender.
One of my theories about Xpeke is that not only that he's a veteran, but he's just a very confident person in general. I feel like since he's been playing for so long, he kind of like slacks on the practice and just like goes out and does what he wants to do. But now that he has a goal and he's going into this Worlds with his team that he can trust, I think he's giving the extra effort, and it's showing that he's a much, much better player than people think he is.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Dolan-Quist, and with me, of course, for our first three games are Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler, and Mitch Kruppo-Forspulsen. Let's get into game one. TSM versus Origen. A lot riding on this game, a lot riding on really every game in this group, of course. TSM looking for a second win. Origen looking to go 4-0 already.
Yeah, and this is actually a really, really interesting matchup because we've been telling the same story about TSM all year long.
Bjergsen's the god.
Bjergsen. You know, there could not be a more aptly named team. It's Team SoloMid. But we have some incredible stats to actually back up the stories that we've been telling. Amongst all of the teams at Worlds, Bjergsen has the highest share of his team's damage at 45% among any player here. Meanwhile, the rest of the team sit at the very bottom. And this, it's not only that Bjergsen has a high percentage of his team's damage, but he also uses the gold that he gets to deal damage very efficiently. If you look at the damage dealt to champions by players divided by the gold that that player has gotten, Bjergsen is #1 again among all the other mid laners here at Worlds.
Yeah, for every gold that he spends, he just deals way more damage than everybody else here. Compared to his teammates, we took a look at Dyrus. Dyrus, for example, is the worst top laner when it comes to damage efficiency. Again, that is damage done for gold spent. Whereas Wild Turtle, for example, he's in the third last position for his role too. So they're doing just very poorly overall. And then if we look at how Bjergsen gets that massive lead usually and how he gets to be that efficient, it's also due to how well he CSs overall. He has at 10 minutes on average, he is 17 CS up. That is an incredibly, astoundingly large number, and that just gives him such a big gold lead. And for TSM as a whole, as a team, at 10 minutes, they're up on average 1,000 gold right now.
And half of that is all Bjergsen.
Yep.
He's doing so much of this work himself, right? And he's getting solo kills on Nagne. It's impressive.
Well, the guy only has 4 deaths, too, on top of all this. So he really is, like, carrying this team. But TSM needs more than just Bjergsen. These other guys on the team, need to step up today. So now, if we look at the other side of the matchup, out of 2.2 million pick'ems locked in for the group stage, only 16% were predicting that Origen would take first. And in that 16%, Origen have only improved over their first week. So those 16%, man, they could tell the future. I don't know what's up with that. That's crazy psychic ability.
They are the 16%, and overall, they were right doubting Origen to an extent. Many people were right doubting them because they actually have improved a lot. They came to Worlds with a lot of creative shot calling, and they have a mentality, a get stuff done mentality. They don't mind overextending here and there with the risk of being picked off because they always have cross-map potential. They're always doing something.
Yeah, they're very proactive.
Especially when it comes to vision. And I think that is the breaking point from last matchup because TSM, let's not forget, they were incredible. They were decently far ahead against Origen in the last matchup.
Yeah.
But with that that average gold lead at 10 minutes, they even got that against Origen, but they failed to get deep vision, and that's exactly where Origen excelled.
Yeah, the biggest failing for TSM so far has been the Santorin plus Lesboy lack of vision. They've been constantly getting picked off across the map. Origen, though, to go back to these guys, not only do they have extremely flexible champion pools? I mean, Peke has played 7 different champions in 7 different games here at Worlds, but they also have all of the new picks here at Worlds ready to go and picks that other people haven't used yet. Plus, Peke and Soaz, they've been playing this double TP high map pressure style for upwards of 4 years. And that is one of the styles that benefits from experience the most because you constantly have to reevaluate the game state and continue to make quick decisions. Also, you force your opponents to make those same decisions. If they haven't been in those scenarios before, then they start to feel the pressure and they fall behind.
Yeah, we see like XPeke's crazy kill participation too. This guy is all over the place. It's way higher now in Worlds than it was in the regular season, jumping up to like 80% at this point. And so, I think it's about time to check our starting lineups for these two teams. At least I'm ready for it anyway. I want to get into the games. For Team SoloMid, of course, in the top lane, it is Dyrus at jungle, Santorin, and in the mid lane, the SoloMid himself, Bjergsen at ADC. We've got Wild Turtle down at the support, Lustboy, and their coach, Loco Doco.
And then on the red side, hoping it will be slightly less close here in the early game. Top lane coming out here, Soaz performing incredibly well. Jungle will be amazing. Mid lane, obviously, the Herald here, XPeke, fan favorite, AD carry, rookie of the year, in my opinion. Niels, supported by Mithy, fantastic player overall, and coached under the all-seeing eye of Hermit.
Yeah, I really have been impressed with Hermit this year. I mean, he's been a big part of taking the tools that he has on his team and getting strategies that are effective for those players, sort of tailoring the way that they want to play to the players that he has on his team. And that's very important when you have players that are long-standing and have they're very opinionated players like Soaz and Peke.
You can also see the respect that Origen have for Hermit. He wasn't their coach in the regular season, that was Ducky. Ducky stepped down at the end of the season, and then the Hermit, who was the analyst behind the scenes, actually flew over, stepped in, and the team actually listens a lot to him. So he's very involved in that pick and ban process. And I think we can see a more secure Origen. They have things more together right now with Hermit on that coaching stage.
That's right, and it looks like it is time to get into picks and bans, guys, between Team SoloMid and Team Origen here in our first game of the day. Today we find out who from Group D moves on to the quarterfinals. Kalista and TF, the first couple bans.
Yep, no surprise there with the Kalista. They mentioned it on the analyst desk, and even Niels himself in the interview afterwards was like, yes, oh, well, first pick Kalista every time. We value it much more highly than the other teams.
I mean, Kench is benched.
Yeah, the Kench is benched.
I still... All right.
We're still expecting a Gangplank bang. 100% pick and ban rate, and every time he's left open, immediately that team pays the price, they lose, so definitely want to get Gangplank out of the equation here. Origen may be confident, though, to give it to Dyrus, who hasn't been performing that well, and Soaz is known for counter-picking these top lane matchups.
Seems like they really want to maybe grab a Darius for Dyrus because they do have that Lulu banned out. There's a Gangplank ban.
Yeah, the counter-picking game here is actually really interesting between these two teams to me because, yes, Soaz is great at counter-picking top lane, but also, if you only get one counter-pick here for a solo lane, even if you're on red side. So do you really want to trade a Soaz counter-pick for a Bjergsen counter-pick in the mid lane?
That is bold. Kennen Kog'Maw locked in, first rotation.
Yeah, Kennen, very aggressive support that we've seen come out of Korea, but let's not forget, it is a flex pick, and Soaz used to actually be a very AP-heavy top laner, so he can most definitely play that Kennen top lane. And more importantly, Dyrus as a player generally doesn't adapt very well to really quick changes in terms of meta, so being put up against a Kennen may actually prove cumbersome for him.
Well, TSM's weakness for a long time now has been adaptation to picks they weren't expecting, so not surprising to see Origen maybe throw something like that at them early on.
Yeah, definitely looking at Loco Doco up on the stage there to send them into the game with a game plan when facing something like this Kennen flex pick.
Here, though, Jinx and Morgana, they have been some of the most underrated picks here at Worlds.
Yep.
Jinx is actually 9-2, and Morgana is 6-1 herself. So really strong, at least statistically speaking, lock in there for TSM's bottom lane.
Also, in terms of damage that Jinx brings to the table, the highest damaging player, I think, at Worlds overall is NL, and he played, I think, 3 Jinx games, so definitely...
You got that Penta on Jinx, too. I'm sure that helps a bit there.
Penta's generally...
you generally need to do a lot of damage to kill 5 people.
But the trend within those first 3 picks is that they all have, like, a long-range tool to CC people. So you have Zap coming out from Jinx into Bind, Cocoon. Any of them connect, they facilitate the others. Jinx can follow up with traps. So TSM, they actually have an identity that doesn't involve them to get too much deep vision. They don't need that. They can just start sieging towers straight up. So this may be easier way to play out the game for them, and they may actually be able to snowball their early game lead if they can get it again against Origen with already this 3 out of 5 composition.
Yeah, and they are going to have to watch themselves spread out. It does look like it will be a top lane Kennen, so it will be a lot earlier. Zonya is looking for the AoE there to try and corral TSM.
Gragas Thresh locked in for Origen. And I was wondering if we were going to see an Azir here for Bjergsen. You know, the Siege we already talked about a little bit. It would fit in perfectly with that comp. Don't think we're going to see the Talon, but that's like a lot of Korean players hover over Talon. There's some like inside joke with Korean players. I don't know about it, but on OGN we see this like every single match.
Well, he's an extremely effective assassin, but as you said, probably won't be picked here, so we won't go into too much detail on Talon. I have to say, though, the Thresh has also been a highlight for Origen so far because of the way that Mithy trails his laners as they're trying to split push with the Lantern there, reliably trying to get them out of harm's way.
Really? Ooh. Wow, Syndra locked in along with that Malphite. Kobe's excited. You're both excited. Who wants to talk first?
Well, so Syndra got some mana buffs, and a lot of the players over in the Korean bootcamp were playing her a lot, namely Incarnation and Bjergsen.
There have been rumors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Bjergsen was also a long, long time ago known very, very well for his Syndra specifically for bursting people out when she was much more of a lane bully. I want to see how he pulls it off here. Also, the Malphite lock-in for Dyrus. Obviously, looks like they might be leaving him to the wolves a little bit. They want him to be on a tanky champion, come in with a teleport ultimate.
I think overall TSM did a great job drafting around their weaknesses. They do tend to get ahead individually in the mid lane and just as a team gold-wise, 1,000 gold at 10 minutes. With that gold lead and a struggling top laner generally, you can leave Dyrus on an island, he can get behind, he can just bring the utility to these fights. You have 4-man siege that can set up each other. Only one of them needs to hit their spell and the rest is very easy to chain.
Yeah, I want to bring it back to this point that you highlighted earlier in the introduction here of TSM not being the proactive team. They have so many ways to make picks and start fights here. Syndra also has one of the longest range stuns, plus it goes through people, so she can stun multiple people, and it travels so fast that you can't dodge it. So there are many pick opportunities here for TSM.
Also in their last matchup, Lustboy and Santorin were struggling to get into the enemy jungle. Now they have double ranged brush tech champions.
Yep.
Also, they're not fighting against Amazing's Rek'Sai, who had 100% uptime. Every time he would base, ulti back. So it was incredibly hard to enter the jungle because Amazing was always watching that. Now that Gragas actually has to base, combined with the fact that you have Morgana at least, there could be a distinct possibility that TSM's deep vision warding will improve drastically in this game.
It's going to be insane, but I mean, the same things hold true in week 2 as they did in week 1 for TSM as well, where they need to watch that positioning. They need to be more of a team and less of Bjergsen and 4 other dudes who happen to be on the map at the same time.
Yeah, and speaking of positioning, I'm actually going to keep my eye very closely on Soaz this game, because with all of these skill shots and long-range stuns, the Kennen, if he gets hit by one, has a very hard time of getting in there.
Sure.
He's a very squishy champion. If you have to blow your Zonyas early, then it greatly reduces the effect of you in a team fight.
That's right, guys. So send in your votes throughout the day at LOL Esports. And for this first game, you can use hashtag TSMWin or hashtag OGWin and let us know who you think is going to take the first game of the day. I think this is going to be a crazy group, man.
Very excited to kick off this day with you.
Oh, yeah.
Just thinking back, even if TSM closed out that gold lead that they had, this group would have been Origen tied with TSM.
It's true.
LG all the way at the bottom. This could have been even crazier, and even now it's going to be fantastic to see how this plays out.
As we move on to Summoner's Rift, yeah, TSM and both of their losses lost gold leads that they had between the 10 and 20 minute mark. These guys need to have a solid mid game.
Yeah, and remember, most of those were coming from Bjergsen creating that lead himself. He's not being given gold on his team. He's doing so much of this work.
Right.
Also, as we're into the Rift here, let's take note of some summoner spells here. It is going to be the double teleport for Origen, not really surprised there, but also Lustboy down on the bottom here for TSM with the exhaust, just in case Soaz makes it past all of these skill shots and into the team, then you can't exhaust Kennen during the ult.
You have to be a true ninja this time.
Sneaky from the flanks here. That's what Soaz is looking for. Just get in unseen somehow, unspotted. With TSM's lacking vision control, he could technically, but I think right now they'll just have to ward their flanks.
Well, Kennen has never really been, you know, like primary engaged.
No.
So it seems like it's a very fragile composition for Origen too. I mean,
yeah, because at first glance you'd think, oh, they have Kog'Maw and Orianna. They're sort of trying to protect the Kog. Maybe they'll save their Gragas ultimate for defensive purposes. But that's a great thing about Gragas ultimate. It is flexible. You can also use it as an initiation tool.
I mean, looking at Myth, he actually started coin, so they may indicate that Origen actually wanted to get a lane swap. Very often you see Relic Shield on Thresh when they want to lane because you want to bring the sustain. Yeah. Coin, if you're not going to lane anyways, just get that passive gold gen.
Right. Makes some sense. Looks like they will lane swap here against TSM. Dyrus and Lustboy moving through that ward into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, it's actually going to be a three-man delayed invade here for the red. They're going to start the red up actually a little bit slowly, but Origen did see them walk on the way in, so they're going to try and react. The only thing is that TSM also have Santorin starting off their own red, so a double buff start here for TSM. However, Turtle behind on experience already because he's not in lane.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit odd to see Turtle sort of wander his way back through the jungle, back to lane. Dyrus is going to grab that red buff, though.
See, this is a good move by Amazing. He saw what was going on, so he immediately moves into the other person's jungle aggressively to find some more information to see what is going on exactly. Turtle, he took the hit for his team. He set himself behind to get a potential 3-buff start for TSM.
Yeah, it's actually fairly interesting because they will be relying on Jinx for the late game attack damage threat to make sure that Origen cannot just build magic resist. But as you say, Amazing did go check towards TSM side, but remember, with Santorin starting that red, he couldn't get anything done, and Amazing actually ended up wasting a lot of time, so even he is going to be fairly far behind here.
I think this is an incredibly smart start here just overall from TSM. If Bjergsen can keep up what he's been doing in every game so far, and this start will play out the way it did, that TSM will get that average gold lead at 10 minutes.
Yeah, and look at this. It was actually a very interesting mind game here from TSM. All they did was take the red and one of the small monsters in that camp. They didn't fully commit to taking over this side of the jungle, which is what teams normally do. And Origen, you know, basing Amazing's moves off of the expected behavior of their opponents is what cost him that, you know, 10 seconds moving across the river there. You know, TSM actually came out ahead in the mind games of the early stage.
I just wonder what's going to happen, because I mean, we've seen TSM be pretty solid like we've talked about in that first 10 minutes, but
both up.
It's just always between 10 and 20 that the lead slips away for these guys. Oh, and maybe again coming in onto Expecte. There's the stun from the Sphere for Bjergsen. That's a lot of damage. Expecte, Ignite ticking down, and he is going to go down. First blood goes to Santorin.
Renamed to Team Duo Mid.
Team Duo Mid. This is exactly what we were talking about. Only one of those spells needs to connect. QE from Syndra, followed by the Cocoon. If Cocoon hits first, then Syndra follows up. Then Morgana Binding. They have so much CC they can layer on top of each other. And honestly, Peke may have been wiser for him to bring Cleanse rather than that standard teleport that he's been running.
I think so. And that flash is down now, so he's going to be even easier to gank next time.
Yeah, that long-range stun from Syndra is one of the reasons why she became my go-to mid. The missile speed is just so quick on the combo. There's no way that you can reliably dodge it.
And generally, you don't get punished if you miss it because that's such a large range too. Generally, if you're in the mid lane, when you miss your spell, they can aggress on you. Good players will use that window, but you can backpedal relatively safely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give that one to you, but there are situations
6 out of 10,
where,
maybe?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Kobe's like, well, if I'm against the Syndra, no way she's getting away. I'm good enough to punish that.
Because I'm thinking, if you just blow your E on Syndra, it actually leaves you extremely vulnerable, and Gragas is great at closing that gap. So if Amazing had been there for a counter gank, then you know, he could have disrupted things. But you're right, with the jump that TSM got there, well-deserved first blood, and it did go to Santorin, so some money spread about. We'll see if Santorin can actually make that money count and get some deep vision for his team.
Yep. Meanwhile, Dyrus has fallen a little bit behind in CS down in that bot lane, but that's not too surprising if he's laning against the Kog'Maw Thresh. It's going to be tough for any melee to lane against.
Yeah, Origen, they swapped it around right now, and they dropped a pink ward on the right side of mid. Soaz pathing into Santorin here.
Oh.
Santorin.
Wow, taking a lot of damage from Soaz. Soaz is going to chase. There's the repel. Lustboy coming in, though. He's got nowhere to go. They're going to catch him. They're going to catch Soaz with the Dark Binding. Santorin turning it around. Can they actually take out Soaz? There's the exhaust. He's going to flash over the wall. They're going to let him go. Happy to just take that summoner away.
Really good to see what Santorin did there. He waited until the auto attack was launched from Soaz with the mark, stun him, repelled up, and that bought enough time for his support Rodder, Lustboy, to come in and help.
Yeah, pretty good bait there, and it might also earn them a teleport, not just the flash, because right now TSM are quickly pushing that top lane. We'll see if Soaz actually decides even to go back there. He knows that at least was just top, so it's extremely dangerous for him to go for this.
Yeah.
TSM should press up and just zone him off of the turret. They need to cut this off because otherwise Origen are going to get this dragon without any repercussions here.
Looks like they will, and yeah, Soaz smart to not TP back in there, would have gotten dove immediately. And so OG comes out a little bit ahead by grabbing this dragon. We'll see if TSM can get the top lane.
I mean, generally speaking, if the team resorts into a very early dragon, it actually means they're behind and it is the best option left for them to take. They do invest a lot of time taking that, and it gives what we call the tempo, momentum, call it what you may, for TSM, because they're going to pick up this tower and actually establish a gold lead.
Yeah, the thing is that TSM also actually didn't get in there quick enough in lane to zone Soaz off of all of those minions. So Soaz did soak up some experience. And Origen get a little bit back there in the top lane while they trade Dragon for first turret.
Wow, and Origen throughout Worlds has been very, very good about getting those dragons, and they got another one right now, but like you said, they need the gold. They need those turrets a little bit later. We'll see how fast they can take down the bot lane.
Gonna recall here, so not pressing on that bottom lane. And TSM, you get so much momentum in the game when you take down that first turret, and it's not a trade. So this is the thing that Origen are giving up for that early dragon. TSM get to call the first swap. They send Wild Turtle and Lustboy down bottom quicker, and Turtle has actually gone for not only the pickaxe buy, but also stacked a longsword on top of it there. So that is going to be a delay in the Infinity Edge completion. Maybe he turns that into a Vamp Scepter, but he's just getting as much flat damage as he can in this early game to make use of the minigun attack speed and continue to keep the tower lead, try and keep up that pressure.
Makes sense. Bjergsen's still just farming in the mid lane, dead even in CS. Well, he was when I started that sentence anyway. Against Xpeke, who's going to be grabbing his blue buff here. And now, are you a little bit surprised that TSM didn't try to punish the splash that's been down on Xpeke?
He has been playing fairly safe on Orianna, trying to stay back and not extend too far into the lane. Plus, they did get a little bit of vision coverage for him. But, yeah.
Origen overall, just they know that TSM likes to play with multiple members around mid lane, Lustboy roaming. This is an old style of them. The response after that death from Xpeke was immediately Mythy and amazing, roaming to mid and placing some wards. So Pink Ward went down, that got killed, but they still had a lot of wards remaining around the mid lane. They just faded just now. But Pekka generally is protected well by his team. And again, that speaks to the dual synergy between jungler and support that is just far greater on Origen overall.
That makes sense. We finally got the 2v2 down in bot lane between Niels, Mythy, Lustboy, and Wild Turtle. Ward in the forward brush for both teams, actually. Oh, going to get cleared out by Origen, though.
Yeah, plus this time around, Peke also protecting himself. Got his own pink ward there.
Yep.
So doing a little bit of his own vision. Ah, Bjergsen finds it immediately, though.
Yep, that one's not going to last too long. Well, we'll see. No, he's still going to get it. Yep. It's like a contest of whose orbs are superior.
Ball versus spear. Who comes out on top?
Well, back down to this bottom lane, though. While Origen did take the dragon in exchange for that top turret, they also got a CS lead for Niels down there.
Going on to Dyrus. There's the ultimate. Amazing coming in as well. Dyrus, he's got his ult, he's got his flash. Probably not going to get taken out. Yep, he'll be able to escape that one. Has to burn the ult, but things could be worse.
Meanwhile, TSM going to make a counter move down here on bottom. They saw the jungle up top there, and Niels and Mythy get out just in time.
Looks like they might be able to get that bottom turret, though, so that's going to be first turret of the game, or second, rather, for TSM, and they continue pushing this objective game.
Yeah, Bjergsen gets ahead in mid lane in terms of push, then he uses that to get a roam, and TSM are speeding up the game right now. Counter push here from Xpeke, and we just hit the 10-minute mark, and We've been used to seeing this.
Yeah, and again, keep track of the minions as well, because we were focused so heavily on the turret going down first there for TSM, but Origen actually got the minion lead on both top and bottom lane in that lane swap without focusing on the turrets and losing minions to the turrets. So if they equalize these outer turrets, then they'll slingshot back ahead in gold, and they have the early dragon.
You gotta compare the team comps of the value that they bring when they're combined. When all parts are combined, how strong is that? Because for TSM, the sum of all these little parts is just greater than individually the parts for what they bring to the team, especially if they can group right now in mid lane and start sieging. That is what their composition is built for. Grouping 4 or 5 people and just fishing with skill shots, and hopefully you connect one of them.
That is especially true in this game because of how vision reliant this TSM team is. They have so many ways to make picks, all of these skill shots we've been talking about, but when the last outer turret goes down, that mid lane turret you're talking about, that's when they really get to set up shop. You can see they're already trying to move into the blue quadrant of Origen's jungle here to set up some of that vision and get a look at Origen's early moves.
Yeah, so TSM, now the pressure is really on for these guys. This is the point where they started to kind of fall apart in some of their losses last week. So this is really it. Like, these next 5 minutes are probably going to determine the game for this team.
I think TSM just placed more wards in this, more deep wards in this game than they did in the entire game versus Origen last time.
Yeah,
There's that pick they're looking to set up.
That's true, and they're getting those pick opportunities from those wards, which we didn't really see a lot of. Amazing. Is he in trouble? There's a Dark Binding. Centauran comes in, lands that Cocoon. Amazing. Can he get to the Lantern? Wards dropped to prevent him from clicking it. Has to flash over the wall to get away. Oh! Ultimate used to pull in Lustboy, but no follow-up really for Origen, so they'll be able to make it out of that one too.
A tiny collision radius was added to the wards to prevent that from happening, from spamming. There still is a possibility, but it's still quite hard if you're panicking and you misclick once that auto attack is launched. You can still technically click the Lantern, but it's a lot harder these days.
Amazing didn't want to take that chance, but luckily for him, Bjergsen missed his earlier stun. Hits this one though!
Flash Cocoon, and they take down Expeke cleanly under that turret. Mithy trying to defend his mid lane, but TSM's going to take this one too.
Once again, the skill shots, I mean, just to reiterate, misses this one actually.
I mean, it seems like we're telling the same story over and over. Just send some skill shot at him, but that's exactly...
It's because the story is so clear. And that's actually something that Hermit specifically said that he values in team comps during the interview a couple days ago.
Well, Origen going for that second dragon, so at least going to be able to maintain the tempo with that objective anyway, but they're going to need some turrets. They're down 3-1 right now. The gold lead is starting to swing again in TSM's favor.
Can TSM keep this up though? Can they keep doing this on tier 2 towers deeper into the map? Can they make picks? Have they fixed their Baron baits? Because otherwise, if Origen can stay relatively even in terms of gold and keep getting the cross Baron or cross Dragon, then eventually they will be at 5 dragons. And late game, they scale pretty well with the range on the Kog'Maw, the flanks from Kennen and Peke Orianna rather. We've seen it. One shockwave is enough to turn around a fight.
Yeah, I mean, Origen's going to do a ton of damage late game, so it's not over yet. Not by a long shot rather for Origen.
I'm infecting you.
I know, right? I spent too much time in Europe.
All right, well, as of now, TSM actually have done a decent job of controlling that vision. Origen, though, as you said, the main highlight, they've been able to stack dragons thus far, which actually, the bonus for number 2 doesn't do a whole lot. It's just that if they can win the next team fight, then it does put a lot more pressure on TSM. So we'll see TSM move in and try and get vision before next dragon spawn.
Oh, grabbed it. Raptor Steel.
That's all you need to do. You need to take away resources on the enemy side of the map. TSM could actually start looking to move up this line of pink wards they have. They have a very defensive set of 4 pink wards right here in their own jungle, but Origen have no business going there. So if they can move up those 4 pinks, layer another line of green wards in front of them, they can start shutting down the jungle efficiently and keep Origen spread out and then fish for those skill shots that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I actually like what TSM are doing here. They're moving up into the red quadrant of Origen now. Because Dragon is gone, they're changing their focus, spending more of their vision in that top side. And we'll see if they try and make plays around their vision. That's always what you want to do, obviously, when you go to the area that you have lit up.
Well, it's so good to see TSM being a little bit more active in getting some of those deep wards down. Origen is starting to sort of clear some of them out now. But this game, I would say, so far looks more promising here in week 2.
It definitely does look more promising for TSM. I do want to caution against a one team fight collapse here for TSM, could be a giant gold swing. Because once again, there's a lot of standing gold in the outer turrets here for TSM still left up. You can take those very easily after you win a team fight. So while Origen are behind in gold right now, it's due to this giant turret advantage that TSM have. They actually still are doing really well on CS. And the neutral objectives.
And in addition to that, to take down a tier 2 tower, generally you need at least one rotation. Because you can't just siege 5-man mid into an Orianna Gragas. They have too much wave clear, but you can pressure them in. Then you can make the first move to another lane. But SOAS is essentially blocking the move to top lane, because 1v1 he's beating up on Dyrus. So the only play left is either to rotate from bot to mid, or from mid to bot. And TSM are struggling to find that opening, find that opportunity. So that's what they're looking for right now. Deny expect a wave clear somehow. Strike when he's not there, or move away from him.
At this stage of the game, when you get all the outer turrets down and you have the deep vision like this, the important thing to focus on is cutting off the farm of your enemies. Because you're going to try and deny the minion waves by using the vision you have in their jungle to cut off their movement between the lanes and also look for those bonus picks.
Yeah, you also want to look to smite their wolves and raptors just to take away the Oracle buff or the wolf buff, just to get more control of the map.
Yeah, and TSM right now, all kind of hanging out on their side of the map. A lot of those wards, actually not too many of them have been pushed back too. I'm just like not used to seeing TSM having wards deep in the enemy jungle at this point in the game. They had a lot of opportunities last week.
Who is really? Who's used to that?
Well, I mean, maybe we should get used to it. Origen takes on the mid turret, but TSM, at least they still have that vision to work with. But this is where, again, you know, we've said this, I feel like we're a broken record, but it's so important that this is a point in the game where TSM has been consistently falling apart.
I feel like TSM should actually use this bottom turret as a trap. You can actually bait with turrets. It's a low health outer turret, should be easy for Origen to take, but TSM, if they set up properly for this, they can close a trap on Origen. If they get a deep ward for Dyrus to teleport in on, they can have everybody collapse down here and try and pull off that fight. Started with skill shots. Looks like
Lustboy.
Bjergsen's actually going to be really late on this rotation, so they can't pull the bait now.
There's a ward for Dyrus behind them.
Yeah, this turret's going down for sure. Origen could have a fight here too if they wanted. Not going to go for it. Part of me just wants to yell, fight already, but they're not doing it. They're just taking wards and turrets.
Well, there it is. That's a standing gold I was talking about. Origen slingshot right back ahead, and they're actually up in gold now, despite the 2-kill advantage for TSM.
Yep, and we are right before 20 minutes. Right on schedule. So Neil's going to recall. We'll see what he picks up. He's got that Trinity Force down, had it for a little while already.
Yeah, helped out in taking that turret. Origen are actually good, really strong on item completions right now. They've got the Abyssal Scepter there for SOAS, which is a huge pickup for the Kennen because he also has Sork Boots. So a lot of the flat magic penetration there. Going to do a whole bunch of work on the priority targets, like the Jinx. Bjergsen, though, actually gone for an early Abyssal Scepter himself. Looks like a second item completion for him. So he's got some magic resist.
There's going to be a lot of AP on that Origen team, so not too surprising to see him pick that one up. Third Dragon on the way in 45 seconds, and Origen already setting up to try to take this one. And TSM, I mean, am I right in saying that this team comp really doesn't want to go head-to-head 5v5 with Origen right now?
Yeah, they really want to set up the vision before the Dragon. Trying to do it right now.
You want to keep your distance. If you're TSM right now, you want to keep your distance, max range skill shots, and at all costs, you want to avoid the flank from SOAS. He has boots too and mobility. We talked about it. Not a primary engage because it's easy to counter, but if he can get behind you, he can shut off an exit route and then gather you up, and then you can get punished.
Oh, hook onto Dyrus.
Also,
not doing anything out of that though.
When you're running a team like this with so much range damage and range CC, you want to be very cautious about when you commit with your single melee champion. Dyrus doesn't have to immediately ult. If they get a pick with a binding or something like that, they can hold off and focus with all 4 of their range champions before having to commit with Dyrus.
Wow, and Origen going for their third dragon. Can TSM do anything about this? They're coming in, but I think all they can do is poke with skill shots. Dyrus gets grabbed again, and Origen just take the dragon and back away. You don't even need to fight right now.
Yeah, I was tracking the map movements prior to this setup, and when TSM was trying to fight Origen for the control around Dragon, Lustboy was watching Wild Turtle farm. He was in the lane together with him, doing absolutely nothing, while Santorin obviously will get outmatched 2v1, so Origen take control of the area, they go mid, they bait TSM in responding, and then they cut them off.
Well,
they have to leave open their mid tower, though.
Yeah, they do take a mid turret with that, so they do maintain the turret lead, at least, and a slight gold lead out of that.
We are approaching the stage in the game where the 6% from the first dragon buff is fairly meaningful, though. So TSM are going to want to get one. Turtle's really far away, though.
Flash over the Flame Chomper. Soaz going to ult, and can he catch Wild Turtle? He does! And Soaz just takes down Wild Turtle. Once again, ADC for TSM way out of position.
TSM just not working together. If you have a Morgana on your team, she should always be within range to respond to potential picks like this.
Yep.
Black Shield was far too late.
That was pure greed. These are those mid-game picks that we're talking about. They've been plaguing TSM all tournament long.
Yeah, amazing. They're trying to take that blue buff. Syndra's going to pull it over the wall. Bjergsen's like, no, man.
Nope.
Mine.
It's my blue buff.
I'm taking it all the way to the
Watch
lane.
him speed run back, though.
I got to get back home. Oh, no. The blue buff just wants to get home, man. Just let him get home. Bjergsen's not going to allow it, though. I will make you kill the minions.
Is it kidnapping? Or is that,
It is.
What is?
It is. The police are coming for Bjergsen right now. It's trapped again. They've got CC for days, man. They can keep that blue buff.
This is exactly why I built CDR and Cinder
All
right away.
go home, blue buff.
The only thing that would
Serve
make
your
this
purpose.
more comical would be a Tom Kench in the game.
It's true.
All right. The blue
he's
buff
back.
finally escapes the evil clutches of Bjergsen.
Oh, I'm relieved. Oh, that blue buff. He's like, guys, if his little rock friends were still alive, he'd have quite the story to tell. But looks like he'll be joining them in the afterlife.
No one's around to hear him.
A journey.
Bad.
Blue buff baggings.
Wow. It's a hard life to be a buff. Bye. At least I got to see mid lane. How many blue buffs can say that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, kind of an awkward moment there for TSM, but they're going to try to push down this.
I don't know. I
mid
feel like
lane.
that's a huge moral victory for them. We've been able to secure our blue.
You know how you can lose the battle but still win the war? Guys, we lost
I
the
guess
game, but
so.
we still got the blue buff.
Like, remember when we got that blue buff? It was like, yeah, we lost the game, but we got that blue buff.
We'll see what they do with it, because blue buff is actually fairly important on Syndra.
Yeah.
I mentioned the vulnerabilities that she does have when her E is down. Obviously, we'll shorten that with the cooldown reduction there, and you want to spam out as many of those combos as you can to look for the picks.
Certainly.
Problem TSM are having now is a problem they've always had in the summer split towards the end and even at Worlds. They're slowing down. They're playing to their strengths, and then they stop doing that for some reason because they're afraid to push their advantage too far. They play too safe. And you saw Origen only needed 1 minute in TSM jungle to ward it up, move it to the other side of the map, and make a pick.
Well, see, it's a vicious cycle because that happens, and then you have the picks too. Then you have Wild Turtle wandering off and dying, and that means they think, oh, we need to just play even more safely.
So I keep telling this cautionary tale of the standing gold there for Origen, able to get back in it.
It's true.
Also, the later you go, if at first you traded turret for a dragon, say worth. You know, free turret. Second dragon, definitely worth. Third dragon, you're starting to question how.
But you keep saying worth, even though you question yourself.
Just keep telling yourself worth, and everything will be fine.
How well does this program scale? Because up to 5 towers, then you give away 5 dragons, and suddenly Origen coming out swinging with some true damage. So
that does not work very well. Not worth. Unworth. 4-3 is the turrets right now for TSM, but they have kind of stalled out. Those wards in Origen's jungle have largely gone away now.
I mean, look at Expeke. He's completely fine taking the slow game on a pick like Orianna. It scales incredibly well later on in the game. She needs 3 items to even function very well in teamfights, so Pekka is definitely fine with the slow pace of this game. So is Niels on the Kog'Maw. Kennen kind of falls off, but still serves his purpose later on if you can just get that Zonias and buy time. Because if you're running a double carry composition with Kog'Maw Orianna, that's enough for Soaz. That's all he has to do is buy time. Because it's not like Dyrus will outscale him anyways in terms of damage.
Yeah. Origen moving into that tier 2 in top lane now. Wave clear still pretty good for TSM at this point.
One scaling point, though, for TSM is that Origen are extremely magic damage heavy.
Yes.
Even Kog'Maw does a large percentage of magic damage, between 30 and 45%. So until he even gets his Blade of the Rune King, they are extremely heavy on that magic damage. The TSM have built the Aegis of the Legion, at least. They needed to rush that.
Interestingly, speaking in the comparison to last game, how we're saying the early game was vastly different. How it has ended up right now is completely the same. Last time, at this point in the game, it was 1-2-1 between Origen and TSM. Wow. And Origen were exactly 1,000 gold ahead. So history looks like it'll repeat itself. It started out differently, but you can't change the course of time.
I guess so, but it's still a point, though, where TSM can make a change. They can still take control of this game. It's not over by a long shot.
Very much so. I mean, Syndra's combo, the missile speed is 2,500, one of the fastest in the entire game. So the surprise stun can
what
still
is that measured? Is like
Timos
per hour?
Yeah, it's
Timos per hour, yes. That's the speed at which we measure things in League of Legends.
Everything measured in Timos. Actually, I'm going to lobby for everything to be measured in Kenches now. instead of inches.
It's a bigger unit of measurement.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite a bit. You know, maybe you've got.
I guess we can include both.
You've got like inches and feet. What about Timos and Kenches? It's about like you know, you could probably fit about 12 Timos in one Kench.
All right, we'll get that.
Get that through the
we'll
balance design.
We'll get that survey rotating around here through the French audience.
All right, no kills, but Dragon has spawned finally, and TSM is actually in position to defend it.
Yeah, they are, but Origen, I guess they don't want to try to contest anything. They're just going to go for the turrets. And for them right now, that's more worth it.
Exactly. It's their turn to trade the Dragon for secondary turrets here. Krubby, you mentioned how the secondary ones are much more difficult to take. Plus,
not if there's nobody there.
Well, plus they gain complete autonomy around this Baron. They can do whatever they want. There's one ward here for TSM, but all that does is signal that they have to be careful.
Yeah.
Because they can't see into the Baron pit, and Origen can pull some baits.
Luckily for TSM, Origen was kind of out of wards by the time they moved into the Baron, because if you can see, there's a few wards being placed right there, but not too many. De-warding hasn't been done perfectly either. And TSM, when it comes to a team that can face check a brush safely, it is this roster. Everybody doesn't even have to get close in proximity of that brush. You can just chuck skill shots in and hope something hits.
Yep. You'll know.
You say that.
Or you say
but then you just walk in.
The only one who can't face check anything gets pulled in, gets hooked, has to flash away. He's so low right now.
He chose to use his longer cooldown, the flash, because they really need that ultimate for the team fight.
Yep.
Without it, he is useless. Completely useless.
But again, TSM had one ward, and instead of using that ward to get somewhat safe access to put more wards, they just wait until it disappears, and they're like, guys, they're at Baron. It's dark. What do we do?
And
Send in
surprise, surprise, they're going to start up Baron.
Speaking of Baron, Rocket comes in. They're going to check it, misses everybody. They're going to see Baron being done, though. Origen has to back off for the moment.
And mid lane is down, so there's no rotation here for any like outplay potential on TSM side. So Origen, they don't really get punished. If TSM was even safer in their approach, they could have lost Baron there.
Yep. Going to be able to clear out some of these pink wards now from Origen. And so TSM will take control of the Baron area for the moment anyway.
Can't dig that crab up, though.
Nope.
He's deep in there.
Hitting some spikes, though. Very, very efficient build from Turtle here, going with the Phantom Dancer over the shift. So if this game does prolong, triple item Jinx with the Zeeks that could come out of Lustboy here could actually make Wild Turtle a hard carry, because unlike the game where we saw a lot of wind walls, Braum shield, that is not here. Nobody can actually deny the damage from Wild Turtle unless they straight up kill him.
Yeah, he'll spike up to 100% crit chance when you finish the Zeeks. So.
And I mean, the thing is, you know TSM's aware of the disparity between Bjergsen and the rest of the team as far as damage goes. There does seem to be a lot more priority in this game on getting Wild Turtle ahead, on getting him to be the big carry in the end of the game, and having Bjergsen play more of this control mage in Syndra.
They're putting a lot of faith in him, and he has to respect that and actually watch his positioning. Cannot afford to get caught out once again.
Well, Soaz running from Dyrus right now. Has his flash if he needs it.
The slow burn.
Fighting him, I guess. He's going to TP out of there, actually. Oh, gets knocked up, though. Dyrus finds him. Soaz pops that ultimate. Dyrus gets stunned. He's going to keep chasing. He's got that Q, but Soaz can escape. He's Kennen, man. He can get away.
Oh, the Jinx rocket.
Whoa.
Soaz.
The fact that this is possible is actually really good for TSM, because earlier we were talking about how to get map advantage, you need to rotate, and Soaz could beat out Dyrus. In addition to that, not only does Dyrus beat Soaz 1v1, he also takes out the teleport and removes the potential teleport flank. So this is huge for TSM in the next 5 minutes.
Now, with the ult already used, why wouldn't you just flash there instead of trying to TP out?
Why? I don't know. That's a good question.
That's what I was wondering the entire time.
So hold on. Hold on, you guys have, okay, TP is very important for Origen, but so is Flash on Kennen. Like,
okay.
Flash on Kennen is ridiculously important for the engages.
I see your point.
If you don't have teleport, you can tailor your team play around the fact that you don't have that one teleport, and Origen still have a teleport on Peke. But if you don't have the Flash on Kennen, it's really hard to tailor your team fight around a non-Flash Kennen.
That's a good answer.
It's a great answer.
Great
I feel like I learned a lot right now.
Success.
Wow.
Professor Kobe's back.
I'm kidding. Feel educated. Oh, Origen pushing up that mid lane again. Peke down the bot lane has to clear some of the wards. Somebody's got to answer Dyrus, and they've got to send Peke down there.
And this plays into it. You lose one teleport. Well, we have two anyway, says Origen. We just move a different guy. And Peke could actually do a lot better against Dyrus 1v1 because he can poke him out more reliably.
That's a good point.
Fighting for the blue buff. No Syndra here, so...
Blue buff heard what happened in the last one.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'm just staying home.
Is Peke any more benevolent than Bjergsen, though? I mean, who would you really rather have as your master?
It doesn't end well for the blue buff either way, does it? Not really. Oh, well, he's like, well, might as well try to hit him. Oh, no, never mind.
At least Dyrus is like, Dyrus is almost of the same genus here. He's also a rock man here. He's a giant mountain.
The same, like, rough species, I suppose. Origen, though, going for this Baron. Have to back off as they see TSM coming up the river right now. And they're going to dive into TSM's jungle here and go actually for the top lane.
Interesting move up here mid. This is a Jinx, by the way. You don't want to...
TSM wins out.
Don't want to base race a Jinx here. And Origen, we talked about how good they are at quickly assessing the game state. They know they're behind. They can't go for this split here. And TSM actually moving straight up mid, get a whole bunch of damage.
Mistakes already made, though.
That's a ton of damage on that turret. They're actually going to take it out. They take out the mid inhibitor turret.
I mean, TSM, they were already sitting in the mid lane, so the path from mid to mid is obviously shorter than from Baron all the way to the top lane, so that's actually a big mistake from Origen, and really good use of scrying over there from Turtle, because he spotted Origen the second they started Baron, and that just gives you so much room to out-rotate and go for the base race here.
Well, Amazing gets stunned. Going to throw a barrel in there to check things. TSM looking for possibly a pick. Don't quite find one, though. What's Origen going to do? Run for their lives, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, TSM, they're really not a team that I think should chase too far. Dyrus gets hooked in, though.
Gets hooked, gets thrown to the box, takes a lot of damage, and he's going to back away. He's got his ult, he's got his flash, but he doesn't have much health for a while.
It's so interesting here, the decision between Origen going for 4th Dragon and trying to defend their inhibitor. They're actually going to sacrifice the move up mid in the inhibitor for number 4 on the Dragon stacking to wait for number 5. We'll see if this corral here works out because they've trapped him inside their base, but Dyrus has teleport.
That's true, but how's the rest of TSM get out here?
Oh, they're
stuck in the base. There's the explosive cast pushing the turret. TSM.
They need Dyrus now. Dyrus has to be there.
They're going to flash over the wall. Everybody burning those summoners. Origen chasing, though. Looks like they might let them get away. But
that's actually incredibly good shot calling there from TSM, because that was the only correct play they could make. TSM's lineup is incredibly strong if you can punish members running at you, if you at least have leeway behind you to move farther, but they were blocked up by a turret.
How much are they going to give up for this, though, as Origen now move in to sweep out Baron? Vision control around Baron going to be taken out. And talking about cautionary tales, when you take down a single inhibitor this early in the game, sometimes the team that you took down, never mind, we're talking about a Baron here.
Origen going for this Baron one more time. TSM, they feel the need to stop this.
Oh, that's a choke point.
Shockwave gets 3 people. Can Origen follow up? Dyrus comes in for his ult. Soaz with the secondary engage, gets some stuns.
There's Antonia.
Soaz goes down, though. Bjergsen with a kill. Lustboy got taken out during the fight, and Origen, they can't keep doing this Baron.
And that was all Lustboy's exhaust. That was the difference between a double kill on Baron for Soaz and just Soaz getting immediately blown up and turned around. So summoner choice a lot better, especially in these passive games. If you're a team that's not going to kill anybody anyways, don't bring Ignite. You see again, choke point so dangerous against Orianna.
Yep. Here goes TSM, though, all in on the Orianna. They hit both stuns. They actually overlap them. Soaz goes in to cut off the rest of TSM. Not only is it the exact, but the heal there from Turtle as well.
Yep, Summoner heal did save Lustboy there. Bjergsen got an awesome stun onto Xpeke after that shockwave landed, and that was just a fight where TSM barely held on.
And right now, Wild Turtle wasn't even really in that fight until it was slightly later on. But if he can start out the fight well and stack up that Ziggs, he will be sitting on 100% crit with armor penetration and a Black Shield to defend himself. He could start carrying these fights in addition to Bjergsen damage.
Yeah, and while, yes, Soaz doesn't have flash right now, neither does Turtle. So Turtle's still going to have to be fairly careful, but as long as he doesn't get hit by a hook or Gragas ultimate. Whoa, stun there!
That's a stun into Xpeke. Rocket connects, but Soaz soaks it. Xpeke is still with very low health. Origen needs to back off here.
Yeah, and these exchanges are all about positioning. If Origen are stuck in front of TSM, they have an incredibly hard time making anything done, because TSM, they throw out bindings, cocoons, they walk backwards. If you get hit by any of them stepping forward, you immediately get blown up, or you have to blow your flash.
All right. So returning to the team that actually takes the inhibitor, sometimes you can actually go down in gold, because it means that the entire time, as long as the defending team is able to clear out the super minion, they actually get more gold up that lane, since TSM's minions will kill all of Origen's minions on their side of the map, and Origen can try and just farm defensively. The drawback, of course, is Baron pressure and the loss of vision, which TSM have to use to get picks.
Well, TSM's not putting a lot of wards. Well, getting a few in there now into Origen's jungle, but not as many as you see from a lot of other teams. I'm really wondering what's going to happen when this next dragon comes up. That's going to be a big moment too. Amazing. Caught. That's a big moment for TSM. Gets pulled out on the Lantern though. Lives through the ultimate from Bjergsen.
That's why you build Merc Threads.
Yep, guess so.
Against this team, yes, you definitely do.
Yep. Teleport coming in for Origen. Amazing still there. Low health is Baron.
Dyrus walked over. He saved his teleport.
Yep, that's right.
Torn down to 40% HP, though.
Yeah, TSM needs to be a bit careful. They've got some health missing on a couple members, but they intelligently backed off that Baron.
So you trade like different concepts, right? You get an inhibitor, you get Baron pressure. Right now, they traded their Baron pressure for a teleport from SOAS. If they can repeat that entire ordeal, send Dyrus split push bot. If the scenario repeats where Dyrus 1v1s and pushes out SOAS, they can do the exact same thing and force Pekka's teleport potentially. And then once the teleports are down, then you can maybe get the Baron. But it's a work of many, many steps, and TSM have shown that they have made a couple correct steps in a row, but then slowed down too much, faltered. So see if they have the big picture in mind right now.
Yeah, and speaking of Origen, they have had just such great late game calls so far here at Worlds.
Yeah.
See if they can keep it up.
Well, they've got a 2K gold lead to build off of. It's basically nothing at this point in the game, but it is a little bit at least. But the big story is they've got those 4 dragons. The next one is up in a minute 20. TSM cannot let Origen have this dragon. If they do, you really got to be worried. Dyrus narrowly avoiding a hook there.
So I hope TSM, for their sake at least, is aware that Pekka just finished the Quicksilver Sash. So when you have that one skill shot connecting, Pekka will not instant cleanse, he will just wait for you to launch the rest ones, step out, and then TSM can overpile on one target that can just QSS flash out and turn around the fight with a good shockwave. So that's big.
He does have to be very careful with that though, because these skill shots actually do a tremendous amount of damage. They don't just lock you in place.
Yeah, the inhibitor comes back just in time too for Origen.
Yeah. If Pekka takes too many of them before he waits to cleanse, then he might just be low enough, and you can't cleanse the knockup from Dyrus. So talking about pulling the trigger there when TSM decide to actually commit with their melee champion is going to be huge. It's a good point you bring up, though, because the unseen Quicksilver Sash is the deadliest. Like, that's the big part of a Quicksilver Sash is the surprise factor of the first time you use it.
And then you have that realization, should have pressed tab more often.
I know,
every
really.
single time.
It's not always
hard
after
to look
the
at
fact.
people's items.
It's the unseen Zanyas and the unseen Quicksilver Sash that will turn team fights and can win you games.
Well, it looks like TSM has managed to take position over the Dragon, and Origen may just try to trade this for a Baron instead. They're still going to have that 4 Dragon pressure. This would only be TSM second if they take it. So Origen, I think, is going to be happy to make this trade.
TSM can send in the rock, though.
They may. They've got a ward. They're coming up. They left the Dragon, actually. Origen, they're going to finish off that Baron. Dyrus zoned out by the box. Origen gets the Baron. SOAS stunned out Bjergsen with not enough follow-up. They're going to chase Dyrus away. Amazing. Looks safe as well, but that's a Baron for Origen.
And TSM didn't even get the Dragon. Now Origen can move down to the Dragon and try and stop them off. TSM have to get it as quickly as possible and then run like hell. Origen can actually just move down mid lane and get a turret for this Dragon attempt from TSM.
Well,
they're actually trying to answer it.
TSM will get the Dragon, but they've got to run for their lives right now.
Oh, man.
Can Origen do anything about this? Doesn't look like it. Probably go down mid, like you said. Take that tier 2 turret. And either way, they've still got a scary team fight.
Yeah, slightly maybe missed opportunity there for Origen, because with the Baron buff, you can push extremely quickly.
Yeah,
they still can.
They still can probably get a...
They do like their vision in between the lanes, especially now that they have the Baron buff. That 1v1 that Dyrus was winning against SOAS earlier, for example, he may not win that anymore because there's so many magic, almost immune minions. Yeah, that tower's gone. You don't have to talk about that anymore. And now the split push becomes so much stronger for Origen, whereas TSM's lineup wants to corral together and send out those skill shots. Origen, they're comfortable playing 1-3-1 double teleport, buffing minions on each individual lane.
Yeah, we're finally seeing the reward of Origen's early focus on the Dragon, stacking up. It all culminates in this moment. We also talked about the advantage that Origen have had in the late game shot calling compared to TSM. Showing up right there.
They just changed things up. We're going to watch Baron for 40 seconds, then start it. We're going to start instantly, so you never know. So that unpredictability and just doing the correct Baron call at the right time is what separates good shot callers from the best. If you look at Yellowstar, for example, he's always really good at calling those, split decision, second-making Barons, where you just take it out of the blue somewhere and people can't react.
Yeah, it's just... We always gloss over it in cast because you can't really delve too deep into it. during a game because there's so much action. But
Right.
there's so many small things that go into, yeah, exactly. Right now, we've got a perfect time, so we could sort of touch on it.
Talk away, Kobe.
But yeah, so there's so many small things, like, especially, that's why a lot of people become junglers, because you get to participate in that in solo queue. Like, I know for a fact, a base champion, melee champion, will get from the fountain to the outer turret in 30 seconds. You know, supports, you take off 2 seconds because of the masteries, and then once you get boots 1, you can take off 3 seconds. But you use something like that, a known amount of time and a known length, to make judgments about how long will it take people to get across the map, how long will it take us to burn down this Baron. You know, being in this situation, I have Blade of Ruin King this time, it's going to take this amount of time. I'm behind this time, it won't.
Yeah, so if they're a certain amount of Teemos away,
Exactly.
over
You
seconds.
get like 50 Kenches in 40 seconds.
Approximately, what, like 500 Teemos?
All right, here we go, Doa.
They actually used to use Teemos as a measuring tool for skill shots because the base unit, Teemo is 100 units long.
Still seeing that.
Yeah. So skill shots were like 7.5 Teemos.
Well, TSM trying to defend their bot lane tier 2 here. Doesn't look like Origen really has what it takes to take it out.
They don't care about grouping up on a single tower. They just want to say, tell the story of, hey, we're sieging here at tower 5v5, then peel off and just go somewhere else, and then TSM is stuck defending a tower, so just out-rotate. They went mid, TSM goes mid, then they go back to bot, and just try and outmaneuver one step ahead and slowly take down that turret every time.
Yep, chunking away here for Origen. Get a little bit of damage onto the turret. If Deals gets one W Trinity Force auto attack on it, it takes off a huge amount. Just be careful though.
Yeah, obviously that Kog'Maw very, very vulnerable down in bot lane with the number of long-range stuns and CC that TSM has.
Sure, you're happy to see the Mikhails now, Crepo, completed for Mithy, so whoever does get caught first, you can use that. And Peke has to be careful not to stack his Quicksilver Sash activation with Mithy's Mikhails.
That build is incredibly hard to play though. If you look at what you have in your inventory, if you get hit by anything, like these skill shots are all being aimed at Xpeke, but you could be a poor support getting like a ricochet or a stray skill shot. A straight bullet can take you out in one shot.
True. Oh, Dyrus chasing Amazing away into the jungle here. Soaz is there though. Gotta be a little bit careful. This is the Shuriken.
So I just had a look. Mithy's sitting under 2,000 HP at this point, so doesn't really have all too much. And in terms of resistances, 40, like 60 armor, 78 MR, he's definitely not doing too well. If any of those combos from Bjergsen hit him, or he just gets hit with the Dyrus ultimate or some splash damage from Turtle, he gets blown up immediately.
Yeah, TSM actually did a fairly good job of keeping that Baron power play there for Origen to sort of just an average few K gold.
Yeah.
And not lose out their secondary last turret down on bottom side. Really, once again, let's go back to our tried and true old story for this game, the skill shots. It's going to depend so much on that vision control, who can get the pick here.
And one of the other things that's going to depend on a lot is that Dragon that's coming up in a minute 25 again. It's like the fans so far predicting Origen to take this one, but it still seems pretty close.
This is good here. TSM moving in for some deep vision. About a minute 15 seconds before an objective. Generally, when you get the first layer in, then you can choose to base if you want more wards to supplement that, or if you are just going to keep control of this area and punish people warding in.
Looking for a pick here.
Oh, they missed Niels. That would have done it. Whoa, that was so close. Just being a dead Kog'Maw.
Waddles his way to safety.
Has his own Quicksilver Sash now, but again, there's a lot of stunts coming in. If one would have caught him, I think it would have been tough to get out without at least burning a flash.
Yeah, you want to look for...
Oh, Shockwave brings in Santorin. Lustboy caught on the edge of that one a little bit. TSM has to back away. Bjergsen, of course, still very fragile. We haven't talked about that a lot, but he could get blown up very quickly, too.
Yeah, I think Origen are actually peaking pretty hard on power right now.
But look what they're doing. Shockwave was used defensively, no follow-up, complete dragon control here from TSM. You move in a minute before that, if OG can't crack that vision control and they're not split pushing at the same time, they will have to walk in this like assault of skill shots.
This Origen team seems a bit more
Flash on
fearful.
Here. That's
fearful than they did before.
A little bit risky,
fearful, thin line in between.
A little bit of both. They're going to go in, though. They may have an opportunity for this fifth dragon. Rise it spawns. We are going to have a huge fight here. As again, TSM cannot let Origen take this. Origen backing up.
Oriolti is back up.
Yeah, that's right. Just in time, too. Origen back into that choke at the moment,
Thorn has to be really careful here.
Yes, he does. But Origen needs to be careful from, or with Dyrus round 2. And all could really wreck them. They're going to go in after Dyrus. They pop that Banshee's Veil. Dyrus taking a lot of damage, but they can't chase him into that choke. It's just too dangerous. Turning onto the Dragon. Now, how fast can they take it off? Whoa, Lust Boy, low health doing this Dragon. 5th Dragon, does it go? Oh, Wild Turtle stole the Dragon, and Origen denied that 5th Dragon.
Once again,
I can't believe it.
Turtle, okay, I would normally agree with you, but Wild Turtle has done this so many times this year on Jinx. This is basically a Turtle classic. I mean,
I've seen him do it before, but man, talk about clutch. Wild Turtle with the Jinx ult takes the Dragon. That's 2 5th Dragons now that
need to redo the montage, boys, for Turtle neutral steals.
That's an important one.
Need to leave some space in that scrapbook, you know, because every time he does that.
Yeah. Look at this though. Origen still do have the double teleport to try and work with. They've actually got split pushing Orianna down here, which has gotten the wave all the way to turret. TSM making a big blitz up mid though.
Wow, they might be able to just take out this inhibitor again. There's nothing defending it.
Look at Amazing, he's flanking. So Origen are going to sacrifice. They wanted to bait them to commit to this inhibitor and then send their jungle behind to flank, get spotted. That's why TSM's backing off. That has been the opening in every game so far. In all of these situations, in this game particularly, is mid-game, mid-lane rotations. You're doing Dragon, we go mid, you move back, we get Dragon. Every single time. You're doing Baron, we move mid, you defend, we get Baron control. Very, very mid-lane centric game so far.
I think the longer this goes on too, you know, this Origen gold lead is meaning less and less, and really the big turning point is going to be when Turtle gets a magic resist item. I think his last item here should actually be a defensive magic resist item, because then it would protect him a lot against the all-in there from Soaz.
I think he could use like a Mercurial Scimitar or something like that. He needs to be able to get out of some CC.
I mean, look at Expected too. He's sitting on 520 CS, 46 minutes in the game, averaging over 10 per minute.
Baron being taken by Origen right now. TSM doesn't want to let this one happen. Baron getting lower and lower. They get it. Have to drop that box to keep TSM away. And nobody wants to fight this game.
See how well
tear rolls down my face.
Yeah, let's see how well Origen used this Baron, because TSM going to take them a long time to get back to base. They have to be able to try and defend this inhibitor turret, but so long on the recalls, I think Origen have it.
They may. They're going in right now. That turret's not going to last. Origen, oh, they turn around. They don't go for the inhibitor. They do get the turret, though, so that's a vulnerable inhibitor for both teams now.
Yeah, just the turret being down is huge for Origen, having that open door on the top side of the map.
Yeah.
You can also see the mind games just come out there when the 4 seconds base versus 8 second base changes the entire parameters of a base race.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, behind all of this, slowly but surely, Origen has been taking more and more of a gold lead. They're up to 7,000 now. And of course, we're now at this point where pretty much everybody has all the items they're looking for in a game. It doesn't matter as much, but it's interesting to note, too.
Yeah, Unexpected, for example, any gold that
amazing.
Wasted. He's sitting on already 2,000 gold and 1.5k gold that he's not going to be able to use for any upgrades except elixirs.
Yeah, it's actually, now is the really interesting time when we go back and look at the choices for upgraded trinkets, because people are running out of ward slots, especially since Quicksilver Sash takes up a spot where you would normally have an endgame item. Origen actually peak earlier, like right about now. They don't have inventory space left to max out. And AP Mage does not work with Quicksilver Sash. You can't upgrade it into an AP item. The only choice for Peke would be get Mercurial Scimitar after this for more empowered auto attacks, which, you know, since he's Orianna, not the worst thing, but definitely not optimal there. So because they've been forced into these Mercurial builds, they actually are less Mercurial.
Fascinating. Professor Kobe on the job as Origen moves into TSM's base here, looking for that inhibitor. TSM wants to stop it. That inhibitor getting lower. No stun lands from Bjergsen. And the inhibitor stays alive for the moment anyway. Soaz pushing up that bot lane at the same time, though, behind all this.
Yep, Origen just trying to make use of their split push now. Split pushing with Baron. Get a lot done. I think that secondary turret, that's forfeit for TSM. That is gold in Origen's pockets pretty much.
Yeah. You can see the issue Origen have right here. If you enter the base to go for inhibitor, you enter through a bit of a choke point.
Yeah.
It narrows a little bit, and it's easy enough to space off enough skill shots, one on the left, one on the right, to catch at least something. That's why SOAS is actually split pushing. Take away 1 or 2 of those skill shots, suddenly that opening's big enough for your team members to get through. But right now, it's incredibly dangerous to commit to a 5v5, so that's why Origen taking the split push approach.
Well, by the time that SOAS could teleport in, a lot of people would be dead because the team is so fragile. So you got to be careful. But SOAS knocking on the door in the bot lane now.
Got it.
Yep. Origen
Origen rotation.
Pushes. Shockwave onto Santorin. They grab Expeke, takes some damage, having to cleanse. That one gets caught again. Another big stun comes in for Bjergsen. Wild Turtle throws in the rocket, but it doesn't do enough damage for any kills.
Again, though, this is Origen's handle on the map pressure game. They've been able to keep up the pressure so long. 2 inhibitor turrets are down. Even though the inhibitors aren't there, the defenses from TSM are crumbling.
Also, look at the communication. Very often, you will see Mikhails and QSS be used at the same time. They're in panic. It was one after the other. I didn't see which one get used first, but there was clear communication on what's going on. I go first, you go second. Complete faith in helping each other right there. So really solid play there from Mithy and Expeke.
Uh-oh, Niels coming in, and he is going to take out this inhibitor unopposed. Just peace out with the Lantern. Nice little snipe by Origen.
That's that Lantern play from Mithy, highlighting it in Champion Select. Thresh is so big for Origen. They're able to get that inhibitor down, and they're keeping up the pressure. Dragon driving them away from the Nexus turret, but they're going for the Nexus!
Whoa, they are! Teleport coming in. Origen, Dyrus with the knock up there, but SOAS in there with Expeke as well. They're going to take down Dyrus, and they might take down the base too. There goes Nexus turret number 1, and they are going to back off as the recalls start coming in for TSM. But that Dragon, Origen just has pressure on every part of the map right now.
Well, let's see if they can get out here. TSM actually have Morgana flanking.
Oh, that's a bind onto Mithy.
Nobody's there.
He takes some damage. Shockwave brings in Bjergsen. Can they follow it up? Lustboy gets grabbed. He's very low, goes down. Oh, big rocket comes in. They take out Niels, but they manage to just barely save SOAS in the end. TSM pressuring. They might be able to get this Dragon.
Origen really whittling away at them, actually. Origen's still here.
Hook onto Santorin, but Mithy takes a lot of damage. Wild Turtle nearly
Those
kills him
traps
off.
were so close to hitting right there.
I know, this game is still so close right now. Expeke charging forward. Bjergsen has to back away. TSM just again trying to get this Dragon. They gotta keep it away from Origen. They're gonna try to get it. Can Amazing steal it? He's moving.
Oh, he got it! Amazing!
He steals the Dragon, and that is Dragon number 5 for Origen. Niels was dead. He didn't get the buff, but everybody else on the team has it, and that could be disastrous for TSM.
Santorin mistimes the execute combo there. Amazing comes up with the clutch steal against his own team.
Second, 5th Dragon of Worlds here. And have we seen more Dragons this game than we actually have seen kills?
Maybe.
Probably did.
It's a sad, sad day. But this game is
objective
so exciting.
control.
Let's watch this again. Amazing.
Oh man, he just mans up and goes straight in there.
I think he body slammed Santorin at the end to get that little bit of a start.
Cancel the Q?
Maybe.
I think
See it again in
Santorin,
super slow motion.
did the math wrong, and Q smite wasn't enough, and Amazing smoke.
Smoke.
People are gonna rewatch that a whole bunch of times and
Frame by frame.
Yeah, frame by frame, and get back to us with the exact.
The Twitterverse will let us know.
We have the NCIS version enhanced.
Enhance. Amazing.
Eventually, you enhance too much, you can't tell the difference between Dragon and Kench.
Right. When does the Dragon become Tom Kench? Why do we keep talking about Tom Kench?
Why not?
That's right.
Fascination.
Amazing going after this bottom inhibitor. Expeke is there as well. TSM now responding. They're recalling now. They're going to lose another inhibitor.
And this is something you just can't practice because very rarely in scrims does the game go this late. And Origen are doing very unconventional things right now because they're just so smart in their approach, and they always have the Thresh Express to get people out of there overall.
Oh, but you can practice it over a 4-year period if you're Peke and SOAS, and you've been in games that get to this point so many times.
It's true.
Also, just going back, say like, I think 5 minutes, 6 minutes, I'll get to that point after because it looks like we're getting a Baron fight.
All right.
I think so. Origen going for this Baron here. They've got that 5th Dragon. TSM's going to try to stop them anyway. Lustboy throws out ward in there. Santorin, Flash, Cocoon doesn't quite connect. Dyrus in the back lane uses ult, but no follow-up really for TSM as they charge forward.
Down.
That Baron is low too. Rocket comes in. Santorin take it out. Baron regenning health so TSM can't steal it.
Someone kill the Baron.
No one's going to kill the Baron. Not right now. Baron's fine.
Baron lives to see another couple of seconds here.
He does.
Holy, I can't believe he actually lived through that. TSM not deciding to try and execute, but they focused on getting Origen off of the Baron.
Yeah. This is the longest game we've seen at Worlds so far, guys, and I don't think it's going to go too much longer as those minions might take out the second Nexus turret right now. Oh, it's so close. Are they going to get it? They will.
Dyrus had to aggro that melee.
Oh, it's a fight lost point. Taken down. Well, Speke died first, actually. TSM fighting back, but Origen all over them. Wild Turtle got a pretty good angle on this. Mithy misses that hook. Wild Turtle coming in. Looks at going after Mithy. Bjergsen is down, though. And Wild Turtle on his own. Can he get another kill? He gets one before he gets taken out. That's an ace, though. And that will be the game for Team Origen.
Teleport for Soaz. He's going for another solo Nexus.
Don't call it a backdoor.
Can he get it before his teammates arrive?
The door is wide open this time, yeah. Soaz takes the solo Nexus, and Origen will go 4-0 already in Group D. GG.
Might have to write an article on map pressure at this point because Origen just do so well whittling you down. They continue to pose the enemy with these difficult choices over and over again. First time, they'll get 500 HP off of your turret. Second time, they'll get another 500. Then they take the inhibitor.
Origen, they're just playing with that get stuff done mentality, and that was lacking later on for TSM. Like, they had such a good start, such a good, clear, identifiable composition. What do we want to do? Group up and siege. When do we want to do it? Apparently not now.
Wow, that was smooth, man. You know, Speke and Soaz to me just seem like the split-pushing battering ram. They're just going to keep hammering at those side lanes until the turrets go down.
When they first brought that strategy to light in Season 3, it was so incredibly painful to play against it, and you can still see that just Monster just spreading out those resources, teleport, split pushing, knitting away. They don't tunnel. They have really good patience when it comes to this place.
And I also want to highlight Mithy in this as well. We keep giving so much credit to these old solo laners here, but Mithy's communication is so good, and his game sense, also getting there to back up people with the lanterns, a really big part of it.
He's so confident. I talked to him, and he says, yeah, I can't get hit by skill shots anymore, man. On land,
hey,
8 thing, it's just...
You criticize, you were talking about his build being, you know, vulnerable,
no,
but that's only if you get hit.
I never said it was a bad build. I just think it's incredible. I couldn't play this build. It's so incredibly hard to stay alive as Thresh with double defensive items, but the way, like, 0 deaths up until the end of the game, just, yeah, fantastic performance. Always in the right place with that lantern. That is, honestly, one of the things people just don't give enough respect to, because it looks easy. Throw a lantern, click it, yeah, done. But impressive performance.
Absolutely. In Origen, you know, people wondered if week 1 was just going to be a bit of an aberration, if it was just something that just kind of happened and, well, they overplayed a little bit. Week 2 is going to be more normal, but that was a very, very good game from Origen all the way through. TSM, I got to say, even though they lost, they look stronger in that game now, I think, than they did last week. Still kind of had some of the same problems, but they weren't as pronounced this time.
That will give them some confidence, you know, looking at KT, because now they really need to get that win if they want to try and get out of these groups. Origen, though, they're feeling great. They're secure.
They're locked in.
They've got their fourth win
the
here.
Quarterfinals.
Yes, they probably want their first seed, but man, this team has came up huge here at Worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely deserve the success that they have.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't wait to see what they're going to be able to do against KT Rolster, against LGD, if LGD has any sort of life to them today. That's the next big question, right? Because at this point, you're kind of thinking Origen should be able to take down LGD fairly easily if things hold true to what they were in week 1. But KT, there's the real challenge. They took them down in week 1. Can they do it in week 2? You know KT is going to come back with a bit of adaptation. They're still going to be a tough team to beat, but Origen, the team to watch in Group D, definitely. D for definitely.
Amazing. Soaz heading to Shocks there. Yeah, they got to be happy because they came in through the gauntlet too. They joined the summer split. We're a new team there. Completely did fantastic up until the point they ran into the unbeatable Fnatic.
Yep.
Made it to playoffs, second place. Didn't get enough any qualification there on points or winning the split, so I had to go through the gauntlet. Nail-biting games against Rocket. You know, 5 games and people are saying, yeah, Origen overrated. Can't even make it past Rocket. get to Worlds 4-0.
I love to see all these stories this year at Worlds of all these old guard returning. You know, Peke's coming back, having a huge performance. So as with him, High for Cloud9 as well. So many of these older League of Legends players where people are like, oh yeah, they're all washed up. They come back and they absolutely dominate.
Speeding with experience, man. I mean, that's the thing. And maybe I should. Well, I have nothing to come back from.
Let's do it. We got 3 here.
All right, let's do it.
You know what? We'll take over Twisted Tree Line.
Yeah, dude.
That's
3v3. We've got that. All right. No worries. Well, that was a pretty insane game. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have to say in the late game, because even though they did take it in the end, that one had to feel like really stressful too.
Oh yeah.
Just shot calling, just
exactly. That's the thing about losing to high map pressure teams and split pushing teams. It not only whittles away at your scoreline here, but also your confidence as a team. A lot of teams get frustrated when they go through a game like that.
Yeah, and for TSM now, I mean, what do? You can still maybe try to fight things out. You're 2-2 right now. If you win out against KT and LGD, you can still maybe make a run for second place, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, as you said, there are positive takeaways from that game.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at the game, sometimes you tunnel vision on the late game shot calling mistakes, but you can go way back sooner there. TSM could have snowballed more efficiently. Hopefully that's where Loco and the team is looking at to fix in the next few games. Yeah. And preferably slightly more kills, maybe just a tap.
For me, that would be nice too. We'll see what happens. But for more on Origen's 4th straight win, guys, let's go to throw it. Let's throw it down to Shocks on the interview desk. Catch.
I'm not really on the desk, but here it so has an amazing 4th straight win in the group stage and locking in your spot to the quarterfinal. Let's talk about the next round in a little bit, because this game, my word, everyone here was holding their breath if they were an OG fan, and you're not particularly smiling. Tell us about the stressful situation for closing out that game.
Go, Boris. Outcomes were pretty even. For a long time, they had a lot of pressure on us. They could do a lot of things. Method engage, we had to look out for a lot of things that they could do, and we're basically stuck doing like single things like shooting the Copma and hope that he can hit turrets. So it took forever to finish that game, and especially in this heat, like with a lot of people in front of you, 15-minute game is exhausting.
Yeah. So as?
Well, you pretty much said everything. We had a team comp that was.
Never gets old. Go ahead.
No, we had a team comp that was pretty even, as you said. We did some, like, we didn't do our normal picks and bans where we last pick top lane. We last picked mid lane instead this game. And the thing is that Malphite could get really strong because I can't put enough pressure as Kenan into Malphite. So when we are sieging turret, we have to be careful about the Malphite ultimate all the time, and Niels cannot hit turrets. So if they would have something else than Malphite, I think the game would have been a lot different.
Talk to us about TSM's play, especially in the early game. Strategically, it seemed like it was going a lot better for them than we've seen from them last week. Did that catch you off guard, and did that make you change your game plan in-game?
No, I don't think it caught us off guard. Last week, they had a pretty good early game in every game, too. So we were prepared for that, especially because we knew they would first pick Elise, because it's a priority pick for both teams. So it was not surprising to us, ever since Elise, Syndra has kill combo. So,
and there's no cleanse on the mid laner for you guys.
Yeah, we're TP, you know, double TP.
Yeah.
That's how we do. But either way, it was not surprising to us. We knew they would come in with a lot of force and pressure, and they would do that thing. But luckily for us, we were able to stall out long enough.
Do you think TSM has a chance to make it out after this showing, which was quite strong?
I can't judge. I don't want to be the judge for that. I think the play will show if they can make it out or not.
All right, then let's talk about you guys, because you locked in your seat for the next round in the quarterfinal. First place or second place, that's still left to be decided. What do you think you can do in the rematches here? And how different do you look at them, knowing 1, you're locked in, and 2, you crushed everybody last week?
Well, I think second games are overall more difficult than the first ones because opponents don't really know you. So it's easier to play the first game since you have this kind of advantage. Like every team have this advantage, but I feel like it's more of an advantage for us since we have a lot of picks. But yeah, the second game against KT and LGD is definitely going to be more difficult than last week.
Going to be some good games. Anything left to add, Maurice?
No,
Nope. All right, well, there they are. OG advancing to the next round, the quarterfinal. Well, thank you guys very much for talking to me. Maybe see you later. Back over to you guys.
Thank you, Shocks. Longest game of the World Championship so far. Origen moving to 4-0, securing their quarterfinal spot, and a very tough loss for TSM on the other side of the rift. I want to take it all the way back to Champion Select because we here on the desk, watching it play out, said TSM is set up. This is a very good draft for them.
Yeah, they finally got a comp that they had definitive ways to pull the trigger, make decisive plays, and be able to target the part of the map that they needed to, which was mid lane. When you have a Malphite, the Elise, as well as the Syndra, that should be an area, especially when you know Origen's going to run double TP, that you can repetitively visit and pick on. And they got it right at the very start of the game, and then just never went back there.
It's just such a big question mark to me because they got the flash on the Orianna. And like if a person dies in mid lane, dies on the gank, burns flash, then you kind of just push in the wave slow pushes towards you after you come back, and you just pressure that lane all the time. But then the action just cooled down. For so long, nothing happened. They had the magic resistance on everyone, which is so good and cost efficient against the composition that Origen was running. And throughout the game, they were just doing nothing.
Yeah, and they never pulled the trigger on the Malphite ultimate at all. It was used to escape more than it was to use to engage. Like, Dyrus was face-checking a whole bunch of things because he had to, but then they're never in a position where they're able to follow up, where it's giving him an opportunity to go in. But there were so many times that there were 5 people clustered. Like, we were here on the desk. Every time we saw Origen getting this ball, we were just like, is he going to go? Is he going to go? And he never did it. He never did it. It felt like he didn't want to be the reason that they lost the game off of a botched engage. But if you're picking that type of champion like that, you were saying, pick Rumble. Yeah. Have a safe type of long-range engage.
And the thing about that game that, like, just put it over the edge was that there were multiple times where, like, at the Dragon fight, all of a sudden, Gragas wanders up to a 6-item Jinx and just walks away again. Like, Turtle is so huge at that part of the game. No Shockwave, no Cannon Ultimate there at all. The AD carry was dead. Just turn around and start shooting people, Turtle. Like, you're supposed to be known for, like, being the silly, aggressive person at times on that team. And no one on that team wanted to make the proactive move. It looked like no one wanted to be responsible for that loss.
To be fair, we have to give credit to Origen because they had faith in playing the same type of strategy, going for this late-game composition that relied on the double void staff. Kog'Maw very strong in the late game as well, and just played out the macro game very, very well. Like, first I kind of questioned the draft, but it is just so good against TSM that is very just reactive in their play.
Yeah, and the thing I love about Origen in this tournament is they've been running double TP every single game, and they seem to be the best team to operate on it. The synergy between Peke and Soaz and the way they're using it to go around the map and create these pressure plays is the best that we're seeing here at Worlds. Also, their top laner Soaz that you were seeing on your screen earlier, he's got a huge champion pool. He opens them up in champions. Like, you're picking his Kennen really early in the draft, and he's able to deliver, and it's not countered effectively. And I think that the way that they're playing these out just is showing that Origen definitely deserved that quarterfinal spot off this strategy.
Well, the thing that Origen is doing is playing the map. They don't care who they're playing against right now, which makes it frustrating for TSM because they could have pulled the trigger. But you do have to give credit that regardless of who Origen are running against, they have a very deliberate way of baiting out those Barons, baiting out the Dragons, and getting the turret pressure.
I was going to say,
it's so good.
Most important to me is the fact that they understand their win conditions in their composition. They played to them entirely. They knew all they had to do was stall out and play around the global objectives properly. They did that from the beginning with the Dragons. Well, things are just getting warmed up here in Paris. After this quick break, we'll kick off Game 2 featuring KT Rolster versus LGD. Stay with us.
And then we go in, go eat some Burger King. Wait, why are you insulting me, Björk? Then we win, go eat some healthy food.
Dyrus comes in for his own Soaz with the secondary engage, gets some stuns. There's Antonia. Soaz goes down though. Bjergsen, low health, doing this dragon. 5th dragon, does it go? Turtle stole the dragon, and Origen denied. Can they follow it up? Lustboy gets grabbed. He's very low, goes down. Oh, big rocket comes in. They take out Niels.
Malphite, just kill Malphite. Take care of the Jinx. Take care of the Jinx. Take care of the Jinx Sirin. Syndra from behind you. Syndra behind you. Syndra behind you. She's dead. Good job, good job.
And Origen will go 4-0 already in Group D.